that kind of idea.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
Next in the hot seat.
You had the opposite way last time, so.
Did we do that? So is your opinion?
Yes.
Or Diego?
No, I don't want to go.
Probably like six
Trust me, there's no
seconds.
monsters out here to eat you.
I'll be able to
That's
say
good.
5 seconds. I don't have to go very long.
Say something I disagree with, I'm gonna call you on it, that's all it is.
Cool, yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Still be friendly.
No, it's okay. I want to do this.
Ladies, okay.
I'll go. I'll just go. It's not gonna be good, but it's alright.
Mine wasn't good.
Just shoot for functional.
It's just my, what does it say, design your own government?
Design your- you can
Okay,
take
it's
this-
my own government. Okay, no, you know, it's really simple. I'd probably have a government kind of ran like the Native Americans, and I'm open to objections, you know. No, I am.
It was my job last week.
Yeah, it was, that's good, man. We're taking turns.
Yeah, I'm open, but it's just, as far as currency, I agreed with a lot of what you were saying, Kelly. And just going down the list, I'll just go down the list. Would it be better to have laws to begin with, and why? I think yes. I think to an extent, like the social contract type thing. Like I think that naturally we do have our laws in the natural state, something that we just learned in our political philosophy class. But at the same time, there are people you have to take into consideration that do not function, I guess, along with everyone else. You know, they don't necessarily abide by these natural laws or these natural rules. So I think that a social contract would be important just to kind of keep those people at bay. I would probably have a society that kills murderers and rapists like right away. I'd probably just have them stoned to death. I believe that there's some sort of an abomination into that type of thinking, you know, like when someone molests little kids, you know, and doesn't stop, or just you have to incarcerate them in order to keep them away.
Is this first offense, so first murder, first rape, first child molestation, you're dead?
Well, it depends on the murder. If there's a guy that walks in and finds, you know, his wife cheating on him and he kills the other guy, I wouldn't have him stoned.
What if he kills the
Because
wife?
I'd probably kill.
So are you saying that you're considering the severity of your punishment contextual?
Yeah, it seems arbitrary.
Well, in some sense. So crime of passion is at least less severe of a punishment?
It's understandable. You know what I mean? It's
Oh,
reasonable.
fuck it, I get it.
No. It's reasonable, you know, but I'm not saying, I guess that person could be punished.
I
you
don't
know?
necessarily have a huge objection here. I'm just asking,
okay.
Is the punishment lessened? Is it completely
It's lessened.
taken away? What would you do instead?
Maybe have him like work fields for 10 years.
So what is your concept of justice then? If someone rapes a
Wait.
child the first time, and they don't get murdered, let's just say, for whatever reason, and you have them work in fields for a decade or whatever, how is, I guess...
Oh, the first time they rape us, no, those guys get killed.
Those are gonna be killed outright.
Yeah.
She was talking about crime of passion.
No, but say that was a crime of passion. Say he was, you know,
Disgusting.
I was drunk. Yeah. Well, no, we're not saying crimes are always good. Yeah, we're just saying that, you know, let's just say he was drunk and he didn't know what he was doing, and you know, well, I thought she wanted it.
That's different if he was drunk.
That's what I'm saying. So
different,
you see how you can
yeah.
dissect this and it gets all
Right.
sorts of gray. So
Yeah. Well, no, it's not great.
What's your?
You just kind of
Don't say understandable.
fit the crime, you know, to the consequence,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Okay.
So what is your concept of justice then? If it's not an eye for an eye, what is it? I mean,
I don't have to have this or that. It's my government.
Okay.
You know, it's okay. This person did that. Oh yes, and also a part of this goes along with this. I would have a little bit of an aristocracy, but not an aristocracy, because this is I don't want to use any terms in
Okay.
the government that exists now, but I would have a few different people run it with me, because I don't think I can do it all by myself. And I think they'd be philosophers, and I think Kelly, you'd be one of them so far, from what I've heard. But I think different people have different opinions that can make more sense than someone else's. So I think there would have to be sort of like a collective conclusion as to what we would do to certain criminals.
I'm kind of backtracking here, but this just kind of confused me. You know how you said the crime of, working fields for 10 years?
Yeah.
Is becoming a farmer a punishment in
No,
society?
no, everyone's a farmer, because, trade can work as part,
Well, yeah.
maybe I have.
I don't know, the way you said
Okay, maybe working fields wasn't a thing, maybe just having him do some sort of awful labor, or maybe
Okay.
sending him off to an island, and, I don't know, but murder doesn't always have to be.
Yeah, I just imagine the society is like, now you did a crime, so now you have to be a farmer. No!
No, we would all farm, everything would be, organic. There wouldn't be a mass production in this
All right.
society. I think currency, kind of leads to imbalance, with trade, you have this amount of cows, you have this amount of apples, they grow from the earth, they're naturally created. When currency comes in, it's just kind of mechanical, and more is created, and then you get into economical crisis, an economical crisis, and you get into debt, and if you just keep the resources within what they come from, then you're probably better off, and you're probably breathing cleaner air, and just eating healthier, and not getting cancer, probably. I don't know, without cars, you're walking, your health, there's so much good that comes with just going natural. And the Native Americans were fine, they were fine with their trade until people came and tried to take over. They were living for thousands of years before the Europeans came to take over, so.
Well, yeah, actually, that's actually an interesting point. Although, arguably, what probably threw the whole thing out of balance was the idea that was quite foreign to the Native Americans, which was the idea of owning land. So, would you say that land would be owned in this society of yours, or just completely not?
No, we share the land. There's so much of it.
So you can't. So there's no owning land here.
That's kind of hard because sometimes you just want to stay in your own area.
Yeah.
Like, I live right here, but in order to live the kind of life in this kind of government, you'd probably be a nomad. Because when this place is kind of running out of resources, you have to move on. I think sharing land would be my ideal government, with also that natural respect, those natural laws that say, okay, your tent's right there, and this is where you usually play with your kids, so, we're all gonna respect that.
Yeah.
And the few people that can't respect that are the few people that will be dealt with by everyone else who can. I like that.
Okay, so from what I understand, it would be somewhat of an aristocracy, you and a couple of your friends or people that you find equally intellectual to be running the government?
Yeah,
Okay.
a few philosophers.
Brilliant, okay.
Yeah.
So that's,
That's it.
any other questions, comments? Sweet, let's move on.
Oh, Chris isn't here.
I-
That's why I went to
Got two big dogs right here, we just attack the fan.
I gave you some problems, so that's okay.
You wanna go next?
Cool.
You wanna go next, Tom?
Okay.
Nice.
Can I have the camera face up though?
What's that?
Can I have the camera face up?
Oh, we could have it face up, or we could film you and I could superimpose a face on you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can I go?
that's what I like that one.
Yeah.
I had his hand in there for a minute too. I know. Very nice. Computer told me so
Okay.
It'd probably be like 5 seconds of right here.
It's okay, it can be 2 seconds.
I don't think I'm
All right, so you can go by the punch points, kind of look at it, use it as a reference. Really start with the first line. Would it be better to have laws to begin with, and why?
Yes, it would be better
Why is that?
to control the corrupt people.
And who would be the corrupt people?
People who steal, kill.
So you have already an idea of, okay, so it's people who steal, they kill. What would be your, I guess, ideal of justice, to determining the right, the wrong, the good, the bad, the ugly in your society?
You have to deal with. Do we have to be a kind of government where determines good and bad? What do you mean?
Like, define justice in your society, if you could. It is difficult. I mean, Chris pointed out a while ago that even Socrates couldn't really define it. It was pretty difficult. And even when he tried, there was a bunch of rebuttals. But give your best interpretation. Take a Marjorie approach, kind of